The abolition of corporal punishment in schools remains one of the most controversial changes in modern education. While many people believe that banning it altogether was the only acceptable course of action, others argue that the real problem was not corporal punishment itself but the way it was administered. Rather than abolishing it completely, a system of strict regulation, transparency, and accountability may have prevented abuse while preserving what many regarded as an effective disciplinary tool. Today, it is widely argued that physically punishing a child infringes upon that child's human rights. However, society also accepts that individuals who break laws or seriously infringe upon the rights of others may themselves face restrictions on their own freedoms. Prison, for example, limits a person's liberty as a consequence of criminal behavior. Very few people would argue that prisons should be abolished simply because they restrict individual rights. Instead, prisons are governed by strict laws, oversight, and safeguards designed to prevent abuse while maintaining discipline and protecting society. Supporters of regulated corporal punishment believe that the same principle could have applied in schools. The answer, they argue, was not abolition, but proper regulation. In fact, the greatest weakness of the old system was not necessarily the punishment itself, but the secrecy surrounding it. Too often, corporal punishment was carried out behind closed doors, with only the teacher and pupil present. This lack of transparency created opportunities for misconduct and made it difficult for anyone to know whether punishments remained within acceptable limits. Had punishments taken place under clear procedures, with another adult present, and parents always informed immediately afterwards, much of the potential for abuse might have been removed. Many former pupils were reluctant to tell their parents they had been caned because they feared receiving another punishment at home. Knowing this, some teachers could reassure pupils by saying they would not inform their parents. While this may have appeared kind, it also meant that parents were unaware of what had taken place and had no opportunity to question whether the punishment had been appropriate. Mandatory parental notification could have acted as an important safeguard, ensuring openness and accountability. Every child deserves the right to learn in a safe and orderly school environment. Equally, every teacher deserves the right to work without fear of intimidation, threats, or violence. Schools function best when pupils, teachers, and staff all respect one another's rights. Those who supported corporal punishment often argued that when a pupil deliberately disrupted lessons, bullied classmates, vandalized school property, or assaulted teachers, they were infringing upon the rights of everyone else. In their view, a carefully controlled physical punishment that caused temporary discomfort, but no lasting injury, was a proportionate consequence designed to reinforce discipline and responsibility. One of the most common arguments made against corporal punishment was that it encouraged violence and caused pupils to become more aggressive towards teachers. However, supporters point out that corporal punishment ended in state schools in 1986, yet reports of assaults on teachers have increased significantly in the decades since. While many factors contribute to violence in schools, they argue that the disappearance of corporal punishment certainly did not eliminate the problem. Another criticism was that pupils played truant because they feared receiving the cane. Yet school absenteeism and persistent truancy remain serious concerns today, despite corporal punishment having disappeared decades ago. Some would argue that pupils now stay away from school for a wide variety of reasons, many unrelated to discipline. It has also been argued that children should never fear their teachers. Supporters of corporal punishment often make a distinction between fearing a teacher as a person and respecting the consequences of serious misconduct. They suggest that most pupils did not fear their teachers themselves, but feared the disciplinary consequences if they deliberately broke school rules. Critics frequently claim that there are more effective methods of correcting poor behavior than administering a physical punishment that leaves temporary soreness. Certainly, modern schools employ a wide range of disciplinary measures, including detentions, exclusions, behavior contracts, counseling, restorative justice programs, isolation units, and reward systems. However, supporters question whether these methods have always achieved the desired results. They point to continuing concerns about classroom disruption, youth crime, antisocial behavior, shoplifting, vandalism, and violence committed by increasingly younger offenders. In many cases, children below the age of criminal responsibility cannot receive criminal convictions, leaving schools and parents searching for effective ways to discourage serious misconduct before it escalates. None of this suggests that corporal punishment should ever have been excessive or administered in anger. If it were ever to exist, it would require extremely strict safeguards. Punishments would need to be proportionate, carefully recorded, witnessed by another responsible adult, reported immediately to parents, subject to regular inspection, and absolutely prohibited where there was any risk of injury or humiliation. Such regulations would ensure that discipline remained accountable rather than secretive. Today's teaching profession is also very different from that of previous generations. Approximately 80% of teachers are now women, and around 20% are men. Any discussion about school discipline must recognize that modern schools are staffed by professionals of both sexes, all of whom deserve safe working environments and effective means of maintaining classroom order. Equally, all pupils deserve protection from unfair treatment and from any form of abuse. Ultimately, the debate over corporal punishment is not simply about whether children should ever receive physical discipline. It is about how schools balance the rights of individual pupils with the rights of teachers and classmates to learn and work in a safe, respectful environment. While many believe abolition was the correct decision, others continue to argue that a transparent, tightly regulated system would have addressed the abuses of the past without removing what they believe was an effective deterrent. Whether one agrees or disagrees with corporal punishment, the discussion remains an important part of the wider debate about discipline, accountability, children's rights, teachers' rights, and the responsibilities that accompany them. Any system of school discipline should seek to protect everyone involved while encouraging respect, responsibility, and a positive learning environment.